Welcome to episode 45 of the Desert Tiger podcast. Today on the show, I have hip-hop artist Malcolm J. So let's get into this.
Music, athletics, arts, and entertainment. The Desert Tiger podcast with Colton Geschwager.
And as most of you probably already know, my name is Colton G, and I am your host here on every single episode of the DTP. And with that being said, yes, you can rejoice. We are done our little break that we had there. We're going to be coming back at you weekly, and like I said on the Double Down episode, I'm going to be trying to push for 2 episodes a week sometime here in Desert Tiger's second year. With that being said, yes, Desert Tiger has officially turned 1 as of last week. So go ahead and break out your streamers, your confetti, your party hats, and your party plates. Go get yourself some cake and celebrate with us as we celebrate year 1 of Desert Tiger. It has been an amazing year full of incredible guests, and I am so very thankful for all of them. If you listen to the Double Down, I went hard on thanking so many of them. So we're not going to do that here. Instead, we're going to get into today's guest, who is Malcolm J. Born in Toronto, but raised in Winnipeg, Malcolm J is a socially conscious and self-reflective musician that has been active in the hip-hop community for the past 10 years. His accomplishments include hip-hop award nominations, charting top 10 on national campus radio, and national distribution of his previous releases, those being his EP Misconnections and his album that he released in September of 2017 entitled The Enemy Within, which of course we are going to be playing you a few tracks of later on in this episode. When performing live, Malcolm sometimes likes to add a little bit of flavor to his performance by either being accompanied by a DJ, a guitarist, a percussionist, sometimes a backup singer, sometimes all of these people all at once. I myself had the pleasure of seeing Malcolm play with a backing band that actually included his little brother playing on the drums when I happened to catch him during Breakout West in Kelowna this year, which also happens to be where I had the opportunity to sit down with Malcolm and discuss his music, his vision, and some of the ways that he is helping hip-hop grow and thrive within the Winnipeg music scene. He is a visionary, he is a teacher, and he is an amazing lyricist, so I can't wait for you to hear more about today's guest, Malcolm J. Before we get into that interview, of course, all of our returning listeners know what's about to go down. All of you who are new know that we're about to play you a track off of The Enemy Within. And this is a song that you're going to be hearing a little bit of the details about, not only later on in this interview, but it's also one of my favorite tracks off of The Enemy Within, so I really hope you enjoy Past Life.
I swear that we were kings and queens of the past life. No guns to shoot us if we ain't right. Nobody telling us, nigga, that your skin too dark. The body stealing culture and selling that art. I swear that we were kings and queens of the past life. No guns to shoot us if we ain't right. Nobody telling us, nigga, that your skin too dark. Nobody stealing culture and selling that art.
When I was 26, a SWAT team came to my crib, asking me shit like where I work and where do I live. Mistaken identity, yo, cause I drive a nice car. But if a white man fit the description, would you take it that far? Would you take out all your guns and flood them all in my face? Racism is still alive, they just convinced us that it ain't something to be concerned with, that everything is perfect. And every minute of conditioning has been working. Cause I used to be complacent, I used to be convinced that we're equal in this world. But yo, that's full of shit, cause I could get degrees and put them on the wall. But when they get my resume, all they see is Malcolm Jamal. And I wish my kids ain't gotta struggle like me. Wish my kids get it better than me. Wish my kids live their life so free, and hope they teach their kids history.
I swear that we were kings and queens of the past life. No guns to shoot us if we ain't right. Nobody telling us, nigga, that your skin too dark. The body stealing culture and selling as art.
I swear that
we were kings and queens of the past life. No guns to shoot us if we ain't right. Nobody telling us, nigga, that your skin too dark. The body stealing culture and selling as art.
Living in between tolerance and acceptance, wondering every day has really got me stressing. Like shit, will these cops pull me over? And even though I'm sober, treat me like a criminal. It's different now, I'm older. When you're young, it's way too easy to be oblivious to jokes that lies to hate. It's way too serious. We gotta find a way. We gotta find a way. We gotta come together. We gotta make a change.
Why does it matter what I look like? Why do you gotta differentiate the fact that I ain't white? Know it to make you any better than me. You think you got me where you want me to be, but in the streets, can't nobody out you keep it discreet. Now where I come from, my people are still fighting for peace. But if you don't, anybody gonna say shit. On and on, yet the system never changed. I swear that we were kings and queens of the past life. No guns to shoot us if we ain't right. Nobody telling us, nigga, that your skin too dark. The body stealing culture and selling as art. We were kings and queens of the past life. No guns to shoot us if we ain't right. Nobody telling us, nigga, that your skin too dark. The body stealing culture and selling as art.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
All right, we are here with Malcolm J. How's it going, my dude?
I'm doing great, man. Just spent an awesome weekend in Kelowna, played a couple of gigs, picked up a lot of awesome music, met some great people, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, we're here for Breakout West, right? So how was your performances? How was your weekend? Like, there's a lot of conferences and other things going on, so you must have been quite busy.
It was a busy weekend, so a lot of networking, meeting some great people throughout the day, and then the performances went great. Got to meet a lot of great artists from out of province, too, that I've never met before, and got to link up with and potentially work with in the future. So
nice. Anyone who particularly caught your eye?
Oh, Snotty Nose Res Kids were amazing. I was happy to meet them and perform with them after. And even T-Rhyme was awesome from Saskatoon. And then local boys from Whitehorse had no idea. Like, they're amazing. The production and raps for that blew me away. So wicked. Yeah, like pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was a great collection of different sounds and just from all over Western Canada and even like some parts of East and like even parts of like Europe. It's a lot of amazing. Yeah, the people from Wales that came out were awesome too. I checked out a little bit. So yeah. All right, so let's get back into the backstory here because we usually like to start where things begin. Where is your when did you decide like you wanted to get into music? What was the moment that it sort of clicked for you that this is something that you wanted to pursue?
Oh, I have when we talk to most rappers, you have like the classic high school experience of like, hey, I'm freestyling every day and I'm just having fun with my friends for the most part. So I started rapping probably when I was a teenager, like probably 13, 14. I used to go home every night and record like a freestyle, and I had this one website which is like 160 freestyles from my high school career. So that's how I first got into it. And then I had a friend that was a producer, and we just linked up and started making beats. About 10 years ago, I started performing more often in my local city kind of thing. And so we had a group called The Happy and Fortunate. I was in the group for a long time. Yeah. And we split up about 3 years ago. Okay. And then 2 years ago, I became Malcolm J as a solo artist. And then I've just been taking that really seriously since then. So
yeah. So was that just a difference in creative styles that sort of led to the group parting, or what happened there?
I would say it was originally just the two of us, right? Okay. And then as we add more members to the group, we started adding a DJ, a drummer, another producer kind of thing, and creative direction gets kind of difficult when you're in a group. Yeah. And if you want to talk about a certain topic, especially for me, I'm a really self-reflective artist. So if I'm making a song that someone else doesn't share the same experience or want to do something different, it does make the process longer, or you feel like you're diluting kind of what you want to talk about. So
Yeah.
I felt more refreshed, becoming a solo artist and having more creative control kind of thing. But I still collaborate with a lot of artists.
Yes.
But like the creative direction is still kind of my own vision kind of thing.
You sort of gave you a little bit more justice to your voice in your
and what I can talk about. But, I would say those years, the formative years being in a group, like, learned a lot for performing because we performed a lot locally.
Yeah.
And that group did well, too. Like, we didn't tour, but, we did chart on campus radio. We did get nominated for Western Canadian Music Award, like, in 2011. So, back in the day. So, I mean, we still did some good things. So, learned a lot with that group.
So, accomplished some things and, like, did what you needed to, essentially, with it.
Yeah.
Like, grew with it, but then had to grow out of it.
Exactly, yeah. So that's how I started.
All right. Once you started branching out on your own, did you find difficulty in carrying things all on your own, or because you had been freestyling for so long, were you already comfortable in that role?
Yeah, you know what? Because I'm a producer as well, so
Yes.
I started also producing about 7 years ago, and that never really was my main focus. But when I became solo, I'm like, hey, I'm going to produce everything. I wanted to prove to myself that I could produce my whole project by myself.
Yeah.
Write everything, record it, mix and master it. And that was my very first EP that I put out 2016. That was a lot of work, to be honest, like to do everything yourself, plus do the marketing and promotion. I think that's the typical independent artist struggle, trying to do everything. And then for my last album I put out last year, I've learned to, reach out to people that might be better at mixing and mastering than myself to take the stress off of all that kind of stuff. So it's it's definitely been a growing experience and challenging myself to do different things. So
all right. So you you're still handling your strengths. So you're still like doing the producing and
writing.
Okay,
Yeah.
But the mixing is.
Yeah. That one is, a lot of musicians do it out of necessity,
Yeah.
And it's, but for me, it would take me hours to get a decent mix, while my sound engineer now can know instantly what to do. And it's like less of a headache, and I don't hate my songs after, forever.
After you've listened to them for 50 times within 2 hours, and it's just like,
It's great for memorizing your music, though, I would say. Yeah, mixing your
very
music.
true. It's very true. You'll remember everything after that point.
Yeah.
So having like that will to want to sort of get your own voice a little bit more and your own like points across. What are some of those things that you wanted to like actually speak about?
For me, like when I talk about my music, it's always, I tell people, I always want to be like, here's a split of my brain in half. You guys can see everything that's going on in my life at that point in time. And it's just growth as an artist. So if you listen to my projects from 2 years ago, I might be talking about like where my mental health was at, or, what I'm dealing with, or my relationships I'm dealing with different people, or how I feel about things. And if you see my project from a year ago, that was more of a self-identity kind of thing, because I'm mixed race. I talked a lot about things going on that bothered me. So that's a big thing about my growth at that point in time. But that's not even who I am today. I'm thinking about different things and come to different realizations. So I always want to say that whatever I write about, it's who I am at that point in time, so.
Is that something that you found in Manitoba? Is that like there is cultural divide?
Yes. I talked about a lot of things in my last project, but I truly believe that there's a lot of good. There's more good out there than there is negative, but we focus a lot on the negative, I would say.
Negative's louder.
Yeah, for some reason, people want to focus on the negative, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done where I'm from, to mend relationships between different cultures. But so, yeah, I would say it's still, I think there's an article that wrote that, like, Winnipeg was the most racist city not too long ago, like by, I think it was, I forgot which article that was, but, it's still around, but we shouldn't let that take over our main focus, like we should still look at the good things going on. So
touch on it, but don't stay there, sort of thing.
Don't dwell. Yeah. Make the right moves, make the right policies, move in the right direction, be inclusive. You do the right thing.
Your piece. It was a very good piece. I love the album.
Oh, thank you.
It's fantastic. I've been jamming it like so much since I actually booked this interview with you.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, thank you.
No, I love it. It's. Do you find that it's difficult taking and expressing those vulnerabilities of yourself in your music, whereas a lot of people, especially within the hip hop or rap genre, don't necessarily want to go to those places.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it is difficult sometimes. You know, when I first put that project, I would talk about things that most people can relate to, like my other projects. And this one, I'm going to directly talk about a bigger picture problem that I see. And it was something that meant a lot to me at that present time. And yeah, you know, sometimes when you say things, you might be afraid of what my people think. But if it's truly genuine, most people resonate with genuine things. And my approach to music has always just been, if people resonate with what I'm talking about, then I'm reaching the right people. And if they don't, that's okay. It's not for them, and I'm okay with that, you know.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Your music has a message, and it is trying to reach a specific type of individual who is maybe trying to grow or learn a little bit more about the world around them.
Yeah. So and when I think about it, like, I used to get really upset about like people I didn't understand certain things, but now I'm talking about, that was me a year ago. Me today is that I realized that people are at different points in their lives or different levels of self-actualization or looking at the bigger picture, or you know. So I can't be mad about, you know, someone's not thinking that way yet, you know. But if you can have a decent conversation with someone and get their viewpoint, that's what I'm all about nowadays. So
plant the seeds instead of getting upset.
And trying to, like, so, and that's just part of growing, you know, because before that project I was a little bit more oblivious to think, that's not really my problem, I'm doing okay, so I don't have to talk about it. And it's not until things start to affect you and then you start to talk about it. So
so like for a while it was just like you weren't sure if you could actually
speak
be
about
that voice, right?
I didn't want to go into it, you know. I just wanted to be in the middle, you know.
Okay, so what did it take for you to actually accept vision?
You know what, it had to be, this was right before I made this album. What really triggered it was I had an incident with the police that came to my house underneath the mistaken identity. So like a whole SWAT team came to my house thinking that I was somebody else because I drive a nice car, kind of thing. And then I was just like, really? I wouldn't know, like, background checks. So that was like something like, well, okay, that was some profiling a little bit. And it does affect me. And luckily I'm a calm person, so I didn't like overreact. But
which could have happened and could have went any direction, right?
Yeah. So looking back at it now, you know what, could happen to anybody. But at that point in time, when so many things were going on in the States and Canada, you know, you're just like, okay, I should probably, you know, like, pay attention to these things because it can affect me too. I can't just be blind to these sort of things. So
I could definitely see how that would clue you into things for sure.
So that, and at that time I started joining different groups that would talk about the sort of things. So we have a thing in Winnipeg called Black Space Winnipeg. It's kind of like a Black Lives Matter kind of group. So I started to just learn. I never used to care about those things, and then I just started to go. I'm like, okay, I'm learning about what people are talking about, learn more about it, and there's different spectrums, right? Some people are really upset. Some people are in the middle. Some people are kind of passive to it. So I just kind of moved back and forth between where I stood with things. I'm back in, living in the middle, but at that point in time, I was really mad. So that's where I was.
Well, understandably, of course. I mean, if a SWAT team showed up to my house, I can't say I would be. It was
really embarrassing too. My neighbor was like, "Oh, is Malcolm a good drug dealer? What's going on?" You know. So I'm just like, "Oh man." So
I can only imagine the type of stresses and everything that would create.
So
did they at least apologize for it?
Not really. They just left after they confirmed my identity. I'm like, why couldn't you just do that beforehand? You know.
We could have just avoided this entire situation entirely, but instead let's bring out everybody.
So
wow, that's intense.
So
like, were you living on your own, or
I was living with my girlfriend.
Dang.
So and my girlfriend's white, you know. And it's funny, when she came to the door, they started like talking nicer to me, and I was like, oh really? Like, it's just like, you know, it's like
So that only just confirms.
It only made me more like angsty after, you know.
That only fuels the anger towards that sort of reaction for sure. So wow.
So that's where that project came from.
That's heavy. Okay, so you're going from like self-actualization to like
where you are in like the political scheme, and like you're talking about where you are now. So like, where is that now, and like, how did you evolve?
Oh yeah, so I think now for my music, I don't want people to feel like, because I notice when I talk to people, sometimes they feel uncomfortable talking about these sort of things, or they feel like I hear people, everyone talks about like that guilt kind of feel about things, and I don't want that to be. I don't feel like good things come out of guilt, or good things come out of like negative feelings. So I want to focus more on the positive sort of things and not be blind to the things going on around us, but not let it consume us, because I used to scroll through Instagram and see so many negative videos and to ruin my day, or and it make me negative and question everything around me, when really there's a lot of great things going on. So I spend a lot of my time now working like even in youth drop-in centers to do music. I just want to like spread love through music, help people have good conversations with people to, if they're not a point where they see the bigger picture yet, hopefully one day they will, but I don't want to like start anything to feel negative things, because it's I want to focus more on the good things going on,
which I can completely understand. And I want to get a little bit into some of the things that I've seen on your social media, such as you running workshops and helping younger individuals within your own city develop as hip-hop artists, which I feel is amazing. But before that, I have to go ahead and thank our Desert Tiger audience, because for those of you who don't know, this podcast is 100% listener supported and driven. Without you guys, we couldn't do a single thing. So to all of you who have hit that subscribe button already, you know how thankful I am to you. If you haven't yet, please consider hitting the subscribe button, because it helps us grow so very much. And of course, if you want to take it one step further, you can go ahead and follow us on any social media platforms, or you can go ahead and cop yourself a killer Desert Tiger tee. We are still shipping these things all over. We are working on some pretty awesome designs that we're going to be doing right away as well, so that is killer. We have a lot of this conversation left with Mr. Malcolm J, so I think we need to get right back into it. But of course, we need to play some more music for you. This is another track off The Enemy Within, and this song is entitled Still Undecided.
I'm still undecided, unrelated, understated, underrated, living jaded. My mama going through things that I never planned for. Life is like a hurricane ripping out my front door, and it got me superstitious, praying for a different outcome, catching feelings I should've known better. Should've been a better man, should've been together with you. Now I understand that love is unconditional. Shouldn't ever let it go, shouldn't ever let your soul grow old and pitiful. Call my grandmama up, haven't spoken 20 years, searching for a remedy, lost hope and many tears. And I wish I could've been the one you always needed. I wish my father didn't leave and give me all these demons. No matter the season or a reason, I always keep my heart and believing, cause I got the love.
So many tears, so many tears, so many tears. Can't cry no more. So many tears, so many tears, a tear.
Yeah, yo, frozen in time, my fingers frigid. Pick up the phone, still know the digits. Even though I know there's no one on the other side, I get a sense of comfort knowing that you did it right. You planted the seed embedded in my brain to work hard for your dreams and flourish when it rains. Even though seasons change and thoughts rearrange, you can always trust I'll love you just the same. Got an image in my heart, so it stays picture perfect. An image with pride, but deep inside I know you hurt. It makes me wonder what it's all about. All that work and all that doubt, will that shit ever make me proud when I have a child? I'm gonna spend every dying moment teach them what love is and show the truest of emotions, and that'll be my way to get it right. Forgiveness to forgiveness, now I'm moving on with life, come on.
So many tears,
That's something I've seen in your social media is your work with younger individuals and helping them. Like, what made you decide to do that, and what is it like helping like younger individuals not only find their voice and like their flow and everything else, but also their voice and like lyrical direction and everything else?
Yeah, you know what first started doing it, it was funny because I went to the Netherlands. I was touring there in the spring, and part of the thing I did out there is like I want to check out their hip hop centers there. So I was like, hey, can I teach some workshops to your kids here? And I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, how come I'm not doing this back home? You know? So that's what really sparked me to be like, okay, I want to do first I did like a drop-in thing in the summer at a place called Studio 393 in Winnipeg. And it's almost like a whole urban youth movement where they do dancing, rapping, producing. So I did a production and rap workshop there. Really well received. And then I started hosting my own. And then I got asked by Inner City Drop-In Center, another one, to go weekly to do things for their kids so I make beats for them, or we'll work on rapping, or tips on performing and stuff like that. And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot to be learned on both sides of the spectrum, from whether I can learn something from a younger kid and their perspective or what they're going through and what's going on in our inner city, or share some of my knowledge on how to become a better writer or producer, because I grew up in the inner city, so I know there's not a lot of support for kids as an outlet, and it's great that they have these things here for kids to at least do something productive or express themselves. 'Cause a lot of people downplay the power of expressing yourself through music. So, it's and for hip hop production, you know, you can always get a guitar lesson or drum lesson from anywhere in the world, like anywhere. But there's not a lot of people teaching kids how to make beats or how to rap, you know. So, and a lot of kids want to do that. So, that's why I was like, okay, and yeah, I just want to take the time, because a lot of rappers might be too busy doing their own thing. But I honestly feel like if the next generation doesn't have the support, it might be a lost art, or you might not bestow your knowledge on someone else. So, yeah.
No, it's definitely it. Is if they have to go about it their own ways, they might end up in different avenues that maybe end up burning their desire for their industry or leaving them with a sour taste in their mouth.
Definitely, yeah. Because, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. You know, you can make a lot of it is trial and error, right? Or you learn through mistakes. But if you can share your knowledge and help someone get there in half the time that it took you to do it, it's only better for the art and for Canadian music, you know? So, yeah.
And that's something that, like, you touched on, too, like getting guitar or drum lessons. It's like you also have to either rent that instrument
or
it's
super expensive.
Buy said instrument and the equipment to do it. And then, like, unless you're a singer-songwriter and you're just going acoustic, like normally you need to find a group in order to normally try and play with. And
it's difficult. Yeah,
it is difficult. So it's just it is giving individuals the opportunity to get that expression out themselves without having to struggle to find a location to jam or people to jam with, or the financial struggles of it, especially like for youth. Like, that's huge.
Yeah, a lot of the kids, you know, the producer I talked about that I started with, were just making beats on their laptops, you know, manually chopping and splicing things and arranging drums. And nowadays there's so much software that kids can just get and make great music with. So, yeah, technology has really pushed the boundaries for what you can do with just a laptop, you know, for making music. Yeah.
Okay, so being from the inner city and, like, seeing these kids coming up in the inner city and hearing, like, their voice, it's how much does that, like, remind you of, like, your own struggle and just
you know what, I see a lot of myself in a lot of the kids and what they're going through, and some of them had it even harder than things that I was seeing, and it's sometimes it's sad to see that not a lot of things have changed since I've been there, you know, but it's great that there's places for them to go, you know. So it's always good to be humbled no matter where you go, to bring you back to where you came from.
Okay.
You know, so
you have that many, like, very many options for places to go when you were younger?
Not for music. No, music was always just kind of DIY for a long time. Yeah. You pretty much just got mentorship from other rappers that want to take underneath your wing, or other producers once you got to that point, kind of thing. But they didn't really have any of these hip hop drop-in centers until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's a pretty like good investment by whoever is doing that, whether that be the city or like
Yeah,
an
the government
outreach
has
group
some.
or-
Yeah. So
That's really fantastic that Manitoba is willing to take those steps in order to help people actually discover who they are.
yeah, I was really inspired when I went to the Netherlands because I was like, holy smokes, they had like full buildings for like just hip hop for kids. I was just like, holy smokes, they had one floor just for dancing, a whole room just for like DJing, another room for like a studio. I'm just like, wow, the government's investing this much into like hip hop music here. I'm like, that's why I was like, I want to bring this back home and try to do more teaching. So.
And
Yeah.
that's it, is like the Netherlands, it's a huge scene there, and a lot of people don't realize just like how big some of the hip hop festivals out there actually are.
Yeah. Just Europe in general. Yeah, it's pretty huge. So,
Have you done a lot of touring out in Europe?
no, last year's my first time that I went out. So,
Okay.
the plan is to go back again next year. So,
Fantastic. Was it just the Netherlands that you went to, or was
yeah.
there a few
so,
other?
what I wanted to do is that I wanted to go to one place and learn that market and go there and do a bunch of shows there. So,
Okay.
I went to the New School Rules Festival in Rotterdam. They actually had a
Nice.
rep here for Breakout West.
Yeah, I actually met her earlier.
Henka, yeah,
Very great person.
She's great. Yeah, it was a really cool festival. Met a lot of artists from Europe because it brought just people from London all over that came out to that festival. So I went there, and then I then went to Den Haag, which is only an hour away, to teach a workshop. And then I was in Amsterdam. I did about 6-7 shows. I was out there and networked with a lot of artists out there. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I really just wanted to focus in one country, build a network so I can go back there and do more. And then I want to move over to, I really want to go to London and check out the
Really?
scene there. Like, that's my main goal. So, yeah.
So, what are the differences you find between the hip hop scenes here in Canada and over in Europe?
You know, it's almost kind of similar because, the U.S. has always been the driver for hip hop, right? For
Yes.
what's hot and the biggest market for it. So, and in Canada, we have our Toronto sound that's really driving the new mainstream for hip hop. So,
Yeah.
You'll see that throughout Canada, you'll have a lot of artists trying to mimic the Toronto sound because it's really popular, like Drake and The Weeknd and all those guys, right? And you go to the Netherlands and the same thing's happening. People are trying to copy that Toronto sound as well. So you see that influence, but you also see the same kind of underground scene that Canada has for hip hop and
Yeah.
the more traditional hip hop. And that's really popular in Europe too. Like Germany is a huge boom bap kind of country, right? And they're really into that. And in the Netherlands too, there's also a little market for that kind of hip hop as well, kind of thing. So there's the underground scene, and then you have the mainstream artists. They call them urban artists that kind of do sound like Drake clones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of similar.
So, being an artist that tries to be himself and not copy
Yeah.
other styles and everything else, how important is that not only for expressing yourself as an individual, but not only for the progression of music?
I think it's really important because I think when you're first starting out, obviously you want to sound like your influences or you try to find yourself. So the first few years, some artists might sound like another artist just because that's who they listen to. But
Yeah.
once you find your groove and you define who you are, that's when you make really timeless or memorable music because someone can look back and be like, hey, that was really special, or that's really true to what that person's saying. And I think a lot of people can identify with honesty or, authentic music. People can usually tell when you're not being authentic with your music, right? If it's not truly who you
Absolutely.
are, and they can see through it. So I see a lot of kids when I talk to them too, I really want to be famous and rich and I want to sound like just like these guys. And like, yes, that's cool, but if you're not going to, you'll just fit in to that trend. And then 5 years, that trend will be gone and you'll just be lost as well if you didn't
Yeah.
define you're not being true to yourself. So, yeah. So artists, J. Cole's like that all the time. We talks about, you could be the next little something, but you'll just be lost in that whole wash of things, So,
Yeah.
which is if that's your, but though, depends on what your goals are. This is what I ask people all the time. I'm like, if it's your goal to be really popular right now and you just want to do what's hot, then if that's your goal and that makes you happy, I'm not going to knock you for doing that. If it's your goal to make some really insightful stuff and something that's really true to you,
Yeah.
and you look back in 20 years and it's still a reflection of who you were, that's cool too. It depends on what your goals are, right? So as long as you're being true to what you really want, that's cool with me, So.
Absolutely. But it's a little bit harder to continue to stay on what's hot if you're constantly following
Yes.
what's hot. And
Yeah.
the history of music has shown numerous times people who have been a blip
Yeah.
in the scene and then have just faded away. And it's just like, well, they had a few awesome bumping tracks that I remember, but like,
They're not
where'd
gonna
they go?
Yeah. So it's yeah, that's the whole thing. And a lot of people get into it just for the fun of it, right? They want the rocking at the clubs and stuff like that because they're making relevant music for club music, and that's cool. It's you define what success means to you, right? So some people are in it for the short term, long term, or yeah.
Well, if you're into for the short term and you're okay with having the fame for the short term, I feel like that's okay. But it's like, I feel like there's a lot of people that when it ends up leaving them, they're not quite ready for
that. Yeah, it's so that's history replays itself over and over, like you said, like it's a common thing. Yeah.
Okay. So touching back, you said that you started hip hop around the ages of 13, 14.
Yeah.
So who were some of the voices that maybe were inspiring you back then? Like, who are some of those high school influences, and who are the the MCs that you were just bumping all the time?
All the time. So when I was growing up, like I inherited my dad's record collection kind of thing. So a lot of it was like records all the way from the 70s up until mid 90s, right? So I got, I first fell in love with a Tribe Called Quest. Like that was my biggest influence from production and rap style.
Yeah.
And then, every kid goes through a Tupac phase. I still listen to Tupac all the time because I feel like he was the most, you could just feel his emotion when he raps and stuff like that. So
yeah, it bleeds emotion.
Yeah. So, he wasn't the most lyrical guy. He wasn't the most like skilled rapper, but he really resonated with you in the fields, So I really took that from him. Rappers like Rakim or like Nas. When I talk about flow, when I teach flow, I talk about those rappers and how they started changing rhyme patterns. Because Tribe Called Quest was more just like simple A-B kind of type rhymes and stuff like that. Well, when we used to see Nas and like Rakim and all those guys, they really changed it up with what flow really meant. So yeah, I listened to that. The golden era of hip hop really resonated me and then, when I was a teenager, like it was like Kanye and DMX and all that kind of stuff, but I still resonated more with like the early 90s kind of hip hop. So
Okay. So when you started out with your freestyling, did you find that you were more ABAB?
Oh yeah, it's you don't really start to understand what flow means until you listen to so many different artists, and then sometimes like, oh, that guy's flow is really cool, and you find yourself rapping like them, and then you feeling like actually rapper like Master Ace is another guy that I used to listen to all the time, and he could still have like the simple rhymes, but the way where he placed his rhymes is what made the difference about what made it exciting. It's not like the Run DMC rhyme at the end of every bar. It's rhymes within bars, or within each beat. So
they're placed in important spots where like they actually meant, like it actually hit you where like they came, rather than being like where you expected it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And you see that with Kendrick Lamar too today, right? Like he's not saying anything like over, like when you listen to Eminem uses more complicated rhymes and things like, well, that was really intricate. And with Kendrick, I'm like, he still can, if you read his lyric sheets, they're not like complicated rhymes, but it's the way he's rhyming things based on vowels, or where he's placing things, or his delivery, breath control, all those things make a great artist.
It's the way that he presents it that makes it deep.
Yeah.
And actually like gives it feel, and I think that's why he resonates with so many people.
Yeah, definitely. So
absolutely.
So when I talk about I talk to kids about rapping, it's always about what are you trying to convey. Like, when you write a verse, I tell people, like, hey, it's like you're writing an essay. You want to introduce like your topic first, right? Your first line, and then you're just trying to support what you're saying, and then don't worry about it, like the perfect rhymes. Like even when you read poetry, Shakespeare had forced rhymes and stuff like that. You have to realize that you don't have to look for the perfect rhyme to convey your message. It's more about where you put your emphasis and flow and all that. So
no, exactly. It's not everything has to be within that pattern of it's going to like all. But where the words do it, it's like you can present it in a way where it flows perfectly well on its own while still presenting exactly what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so we've discussed that you have hopes to move to the UK at some point in the future.
Yeah, I definitely want to travel there, do some shows out there, see what the scene is like, and learn from it. I've been performing in Winnipeg for a long time. This past year, I've decided to break out, go to different places, go to Toronto more. I'm going to Toronto next week to perform, so just try to, and I learn more when I go to different places and see how people do things,
Okay.
So I really love traveling for music.
So what other goals do you have for the near future for Malcolm J?
So historically, I've always been focused on being a rapper and just producing my own stuff, but I've really been pushing, trying to produce for other artists as well. So I do want to focus on being a producer, getting myself out there as a producer, and also teaching. I want to start at my studio. I do in-studio lessons as well with people, so I really want to help push the art, so not just being strictly a rapper performer, but also being an educator or a producer as well in the back. So trying to be multifaceted, so
Yeah, being a mentor and a leader as well as being a musician.
yeah, I just don't want to be the guy that's, because it's going to come a point in time when I'm not going to perform as much anymore, but I also still want to be involved in music, and I want to see other people grow as well. So
Okay, awesome, definitely. All right, so before I ask my last question, where can my audience find out more about Malcolm J?
so you can simply go to malcolmj.com. All my links to all my different social medias, whether you like Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram. Like, that's my favorite platform if you want to see what I'm up to every single day.
Yeah.
But I will do the links to my Facebook and Twitters, and I'll occasionally post stuff on YouTube and all that. So, but yeah, Instagram's actually, if you want to talk to me straightforward or reach out to me, that's the best place to find me. So, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so last question. Gonna get a little bit deep here.
Okay, I'm
So
ready.
since you mentor a lot of individuals, and these are people who have already gone out and taken these steps to already be involved with that. But say that maybe there's somebody who is listening right now who they think that they might have a chance at doing things, and they're playing around with it, but they're not sure of their voice, they're unsure of who they are, they're unsure of their message. What do you have to say to them?
You know what? This is like a overall art question. If you're an artist, you really have to take risks if you want to truly immerse yourself in the art, is what I would say. So if you're unsure about your voice or you're just starting out, it's okay to just put it out there, but don't always listen to the feedback and criticism of your friends, is what I would say, because you have to understand that there's always a different niche for your music. So if you're making some really alternative stuff that it's not mainstream, some of your friends might not like it, don't be discouraged, because there's other people out there just like you that may resonate with that message, and you just have to find those people, is what I would say. And look for someone that's doing similar stuff to you and reach out to them and see if you can learn from them, or study what they do and get better at your craft. But it takes 10,000 hours to be a master at something, whatever you're doing. So always remember to put in that work, and don't expect things to come overnight. You could be naturally talented at something, and a lot of times people think, this guy does it so easily, it must be a God-given talent. But really, it's the work ethic that makes you good at, amazing at something if you put in the work. It's not just you pick up a guitar and you're amazing,
Yeah, without a doubt. You've got to build calluses on your fingers, and you've actually got to get that work down. And it's the same with rap too, or hip hop, where you have to build the comfortability with your voice, and you actually have to practice.
Yeah, so it's just like anything. It takes work, a lot of, especially if you're younger, right? I was like this too. You just expect things to work out because you're good at something. But I mean, talent is probably only half the battle if you really want to get yourself out there, right? So yeah, it's putting in the work every day. So
all right,
and do it every day. You know what? A lot of people I talk to, I'm not inspired to write right now. I'm not inspired to do this, but it's just like anything. It's just like even working out. There's no wasted time in the gym. There's no wasted time. Freestyling or just writing down random things or I make beats almost every day. Some of them are terrible. But it's practice. So when I find that right kind of beat I want to make, I'm really fast at making it because I've been practicing every day on my crappy beats or whatever it is, So there's no such thing as, I don't feel inspired today. It's if you really want to work at it, just keep writing small things down. You can revisit it later. Or you
Fight through it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I know you've got an hour or so until you've got to hit the airport, so I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, my man.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
me. So, a lot of fun.
Well, it seems that another exciting ride here through the jungle on the Tiger has come to a close. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this journey, the stories, the experiences of one Mr. Malcolm J. And of course, I would like to go ahead and thank Malcolm himself for taking the time to sit down with me and to share everything that he did. I also want to go ahead and thank you, the listener, right now, yes, you, for tuning into this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, I please ask that you either go to iTunes and rate and review the show, or share the episode with somebody who you feel may enjoy it as well. So with all that being said, I hope that you guys have an amazing week. We are going to be back again next Thursday with another exciting interview that I got while I was in Breakout West last weekend. So until then, have a great time, everybody.